Recently divorced Alice Kinney moves back to Los Angeles for a fresh start, but little does she know what's waiting for her there. The story begins with a narration from the protagonist, Alice, a short, blonde woman in her 40s. Alice is the daughter of the famous filmmaker John Kinney, who received the news about her birth 2 days later through a telegram that reached the island in Greece, where John was directing a movie. The telegram had arrived wet because of the rain and was written in Greek, which had to be translated for him. The celebration of a new healthy 6-pound baby named Alice had been so over the top. The champagnes that were popped looked like fireworks. John Kinney was a filmmaker that captured the spirit of his generation in films. He found the truth in the bedroom, the agony in love, and the humor in it all. In his obituary, Kinney was called a romantic poet, which according to Alice, he would have loved. Alice decides to move back into the house where she would spend every weekend of her childhood. Although John's career had been a success, he had trouble when it came to his private life. He married a lot of women and ended many relationships, but had always admitted to it being his fault. His last wife, Lillian, who is the mother of Alice, was only 22 when she met him. Their love was amazing, but it was doomed to fail as they divorced after Alice's 4th birthday. The divorce had inspired Kinney to do some of his best work, but it was Alice who kept him going. She reminisces about his words, the same words that he would tell her every birthday: "Get ready, Alice. The future is yours." We are taken to the present, where Alice is not holding on so well. Despite it being her birthday, Alice cries into the mirror as her kids bang on the bathroom door for her to get out. Opening the door, Alice is surprised to see her daughter Isabel, the older one with long brown hair, and Rosie, the short younger one with blonde hair. They hold a colorful sign that says "Happy Birthday, Mom," and wish their mother a happy birthday. Isabel asks Alice whether she's alright after hugging her, so Alice lies that she is and changes the topic by asking them whether they want pancakes for breakfast. It is the first day of school, so Alice drives the kids there. Rosie is excited for the first day, but Isabel is very anxious. She asks her mother whether kids can have a heart attack, so Alice suggests going over her schedule or listening to her favorite music. Isabel thinks she should drink antidepressants as she claims that she's depressed because she isn't enjoying the things she used to. Alice tells her that she's being dramatic as they pull up to the school. She is surprised by how big and beautiful the school building is and even tries to cheer her kids up by saying how it looks better than New York. Before the girl gets out of the car, Alice reminds them that they're having a birthday celebration with ice cream in the evening, and they will be sleeping at their grandmother's that night. Rosie gets out of the car first as she doesn't want Alice to walk her to it, but Isabel stays in the car, silent. Alice notices her daughter being anxious and makes sure to comfort her. She tells her that she has an amazing outfit, and that she's smart and cool, so all the kids will love her. Isabel gets out of the car but tells her mother that she wants to go back to New York. Tired of all the stress, Alice bangs her head on the wheel, which makes the car honk, and Isabel turns around. Pretending that everything's fine, Alice wishes her daughter a happy day at school and drives off. On the other side of Los Angeles, we see Harry, a young, tall, handsome guy with lavish brown hair who is a part of a film trio as a director. He is arguing with the owner of the motel to let them stay a couple of nights more. Harry promises to have the money by the night, but the guy doesn't want to hear him out. Things escalate quickly and the guy threatens to call the police if they don't get out. Knowing that there's nothing else to do, Harry walks out of reception where his friend George is waiting. George is a shorter guy that has brown hair and carries a laptop with him most of the time because he is a writer. He asks Harry what the situation is like, and Harry tells him that they should get ready because they'll be late for a meeting. Walking to their room, Teddy joins them, and he is the third part of their film trio, and the brother of Harry. Teddy is a tall guy with dark brown hair, and he is the actor of the trio. Harry suggests they prepare themselves and go over the script, so they don't mess up at the meeting. George warns them not to stay away from the original script, as Hollywood knows how to ruin a good script. Another thing the trio has to worry about is their film being in black and white, and they don't plan on letting anyone change that. Harry opens the door of the motel room, but Teddy asks where they're going to stay. He tells him that he's not worrying, insinuating that they'll figure it out. Back at Alice's, we see her writing her work history for her blog, but she's having difficulties writing the right thing. The phone rings and that stops her work. Answering, she hears the sound of her ex-husband on the phone and gets surprised. Her ex-husband Austin works in the music industry. He is a handsome man that has a small beer belly and lavish gray hair. He asks her how her birthday is going, and Alice tells him that a lot has been going on. She reminds him that it is the girls' first day at school, and he says that he will call them during the day. The girls have been asking about their dad and when he'll be moving to Los Angeles, to which Austin doesn't have the answers. Before he hangs up the call, Austin admits to Alice that he misses her, but she doesn't know what to say. The trio finds themselves at the WCA headquarters and waits for the meeting to begin. Paul, a slightly balding, chubby guy, walks in and congratulates them on making it to Los Angeles. With him, he has two assistants that are both named Jason but are very different from each other. One guy is Asian with dark hair and the other one is white and ginger. They sit down and the meeting begins. Discussions about how to make their movie Mad Youth from a short into a feature are being made, and Paul recognizes Teddy and George's talents. Jason suggest they branch out into different projects, but Harry doesn't seem to like that. Changing the topic, Harry asks about the plans for their movie and Paul says that they need to attach a producer to the project, and Justin Miller seems to be interested. Justin is a horror movie producer but is looking to do something more human, so it will be a great opportunity for both sides. After the meeting, the guys head to a bar to celebrate the good news. Harry gets shots from the bar and heads back to the boys. He jokingly asks Teddy whether he's the star from Mad Youth and Teddy gets in on the joke. George is concerned about the producer not wanting the movie to be in black and white, and asks the guys to talk about it, but they tell him to relax and Teddy proposes a toast. In walks Alice and accidentally bumps into Harry. She apologizes but catches Harry's eye. Alice sits in the restaurant with her friends and hands them her new business card, ready for the interview the next day. She is doubting herself but her friend tells her that she's great at many things. One of the girls asks Alice whether she's willing to go on a date with the guy from her yoga class, but Alice says that she's not ready. She claims that she doesn't have time to date as a lot of things are going on in her life. Asking the girls to stop worrying about her dating life and focus on her birthday, Alice makes a toast for her birthday. After some time, we see Harry flirting with the bartender when Alice comes to the bar. Harry notices her immediately as she asks for 2 glasses of wine. He doesn't take his eyes off her, so Alice smiles at him. He asks her how her night's going and she says that it's going well and thanks him for asking. Harry offers to buy her drinks but thinks that the bartender has the impression that he will be taking her home that night, so they go back to Alice's table. Alice and her friends have an amazing time with the guys as they laugh and drink, and even take some shots before Harry offers to go dancing. Loud music echoes as all of them dance while drinking some more. Harry and Alice get closer and closer and their bodies dance in sync. They end up in Alice's bed and continue kissing. Harry stops for a moment and soon realizes that he will be sick, so he runs to the bathroom to throw up. Alice takes the time to take the dirty glasses of wine to the kitchen and clean up the mess that's around the asleep drunk people. The next morning comes and George is the first one to wake up in the living room. Searching for the bathroom, he opens the first door he sees but to his surprise it's the room where Alice keeps all of her father's belongings. The room is filled with awards, posters, old scripts, and cameras of Kinney. He touches the old writing machine when a shiny thing catches his eye. It is an Oscar award Kinney had won for one of his pictures. In front of it is a picture frame of young Alice and her father. George stares at it and can't believe that they have stumbled into Kinney's old house. On the other side of the house, Harry wakes up completely oblivious to his surroundings. Alice comes out of the bathroom and notices that Harry is awake, so she wishes him good morning. She asks him how he's feeling and he says that he's feeling better as he apologizes for throwing up the previous night. Alice says that it's alright as she has gone through the same things when she was his age. Harry notices that he is naked and asks about his clothes, so Alice hands them to him. Freshly washed and ironed clothes sit in Harry's hands as he notices that she has washed his clothes. Being surprised, Harry asks whether she's washed them and she says that she did them because she had a load to it, and because she has been up since 5 a.m. Harry lets her know that he will be out of her hair soon and she tells him that it's good they had a fun night because she never goes out, so letting loose on her birthday is good for her. He stands up to put his clothes on and Alice turns around so she can't see him. Trouble is on its way as Alice's girls burst into the house and head to their mother's bedroom. With them comes their grandma Lillian, an elegant lady with blonde hair and ocean blue eyes. The girls get to their mother's room just in time when Alice is coming out. Nervous that the girls will see Harry walking out of her room and think that something might have happened between them, Alice holds the door shut. Isabel asks her why she's acting weird and that's when Harry pulls the handle of the door enough for it to open. He appears in front of the girls and Isabel covers Rosie's eyes. Alice makes up something about Harry fixing the thing that is broken in her room and tells the girls to have breakfast in the kitchen. In the living room, Lillian is cleaning up the mess they've made when Alice walks up to her and asks why she hadn't called before coming. After she comes in, Harry looks at Lillian with a suspicious look as he asks her whether they've met before because she is so familiar to him. George chimes in saying that she is the wife of Kinney and has been in all of his movies. Teddy, shocked, gets up from his chair and asks Lillian whether it's really her. George admits that he stumbled into the room when he was looking for the bathroom and says that he is a huge fan of Kinney. They gush over Lillian and compliment her, so it escalates to them having breakfast while listening to Lillian's stories. Alice comes to the kitchen and says that she has to go to work and suggests they all walk out together, but Lillian tells her that she will be making breakfast for the boys. Alice walks out frustrated, but Harry asks her whether she can talk to him for a minute. He asks for her number, but Alice thanks him for the gesture and says that he is too young for her. At the meeting, Alice finds herself in an unexpected situation. The woman admits that she has a designer for her house, but they got into a fight because of their creative differences, and is now looking for someone to get her packages and deliveries. Not fully understanding, Alice agrees to do whatever it takes and the woman tells her that she has a room that needs redecoration immediately. Agreeing to start right away, Alice asks the woman to show her the room, but the woman takes a phone call and ignores Alice. After the hectic meeting, Alice comes home with her daughters, but a surprise waits for her. The guys and her mother are still at her house, laughing and drinking wine. Alice pulls her mother to the side and gets surprised when she tells her to let the boys stay at her house. Lillian says that the boys are broke and their chance to have a career in Hollywood lies in Alice's hands, so she has to help them out as her father would have loved to. She has seen the film and asks Alice to give him a chance as she believes that fate has brought them close. Alice is concerned about the kids and what Isabel's going through, but hearing the girls' laughter makes her stop talking. She looks outside through the door and sees her kids having the time of their lives playing with the boys. Alice agrees to let them stay as she can be seen making their bed and setting up the guest house. The boys thank her and start settling in when a bag of marijuana falls out of Teddy's pocket. Thinking that they've screwed it all up, the boys keep quiet as Teddy promises to flush it down the toilet. Alice is understanding and tells them that her house is not an after-party house and asks the boys to respect it. After their agreement, Harry asks Alice to talk outside. He suggests they have a fresh start since he didn't rock her world the previous night. Alice laughs and admits that she is glad he brought it up as she thinks that they should stay friends as well. George and Teddy are watching them talk through the window, and George is correct about him asking Alice to start over. Teddy couldn't be bothered by that as he jumps on the bed and after doing that asks George to come and feel the soft sheets. The next morning comes and Alice walks into her father's collection room only to see George reading one of the movie scripts. Alice startles him and he apologizes for snooping around, but she shows him the original and raw script of the same movie. He wonders why all of the stuff is in boxes and not the museum, but Alice tells him that she has a hard time separating from them. George asks Alice why she moved and she admits that she had a wonderful marriage and husband, but he is someone who parties a lot and comes late, which is something Alice grew tired of. A text message stops their conversation, and Alice sees that it's from her new client. She wants Alice to come immediately and bring her pressed juice, but Alice says she can't as she has to take Isabel to guitar lessons. George offers to help and Alice tells him that her father's old car is in the garage, so he can take it. Driving Isabel to class, George asks her whether she likes her new school, to which she says no. Isabel admits that the previous day had not been bad as her teacher offered her a chance to be in a writing contest. She is happy because she wants to become a writer but isn't sure whether to participate or not. The thing that's stopping Isabel from participating is the fact that she will have to perform her written play, and that makes her anxious, but George thinks that it is a great opportunity. A phone call interrupts their conversation, and George picks it up. It is Jason with an offer for him to rewrite a script for a thriller. George is flattered and asks whether he can talk to the guys and then let them know about his decision. But they don't listen to him and say that they will settle it before hanging up. Isabel notices that George is feeling uneasy and unsure, so she says the same words he told her about taking the chance with the play, and that makes him smile. On the other side of Los Angeles, Alice is talking to her client's daughter about the room when her client walks in. She asks Alice whether they can talk and basically makes Alice babysit her daughter until the nanny comes back. Not listening to her, the client makes her way out and Alice is left with no choice. Pulling into her driveway, Alice receives a call from Austin and he is upset about the boys staying over at her house. Alice tells him that it isn't a big deal, but Austin says that he doesn't want his girls to be hanging around some strangers. Austin says he feels weird about not being there, so Alice asks him to come, but he says that he has a client to sign and can't come soon. Alice rolls her eyes and tells him to come whenever he can before she hangs up the call. Coming into the house, Alice sees Teddy and Rosie preparing dinner. She admits that she's starving and Teddy tells her that dinner will be ready shortly. The dinner is ready, so everyone heads outside where a surprise is waiting for Alice. A beautifully set picnic waits for Alice as her father's film plays on a canvas. After eating the food, all of them sit on the grass and watch the movie. Alice notices how Harry's explaining the movie to Isabel, and that makes her smile. The movie ends and Alice heads to the kitchen to clean the dishes. She smiles to herself as she hasn't had a lovely night like that in a long time. Harry knocks on the door and asks whether he can help, to which Alice says yes and thanks him for the wonderful night. She admits that her kids haven't seen many of her father's movies, so it was a great gesture. Harry compliments her for the way she raised her children and says that her ex is a loser for letting her go. Picking up a glass, he asks where he should put it and Alice points to the cabinet across. She can't help but blush at Harry's charm as she looks at him. He notices her cabinet is broken and asks for a screwdriver. After a while, he fixes the cabinet and asks Alice whether there's something else he can fix. Getting closer to her, he dims the lights and kisses her. Alice tries to warn him about her age and situation, but he doesn't care as he continues to kiss her. They go to her bedroom where they are intimate, and George notices that as he doesn't find Harry in the guest house, Alice's lights shut off. The trio goes to the meeting with Justin Miller the next morning and is surprised by his desire for the film. Justin is the type of producer to do 3 types of movies, and they settle on an award movie. An award movie is basically a movie that's a really good movie, with meaning that will win a lot of awards. Justin asks about the script and George tells him that he is halfway done. He pulls out his iPad and says that he has some notes written down, but his phone rings and he goes to take it. While taking on the phone, George takes his chances and looks through the notes. The notes are everything the movie is not supposed to be, so the trio is not pleased. They walk along the beach after the meeting and talk about the offers. They agree that he wants to help them but don't like how he wants to change the whole movie. Harry suggests they continue the same conversation as they are on the same team and will be able to work out the differences. He takes his clothes off and dives into the Pacific. George and Teddy sit down and George tells him about the side job he has taken. Teddy congratulates him but George tells him that he will have to stop being the little brother and look out for himself as well. Teddy says that he doesn't have the same bickering as them. And that's when we learn that George likes Alice because he asks Teddy whether he supports Harry sleeping with Alice. Teddy asks to stay away from it but George knows that they will get kicked out once Harry stops being interested in Alice, and that is part of the reason he took the job, so they have some extra money on the side for a new place to stay in. Teddy says he doesn't want to leave Alice's house and will worry about it when the day comes, as he takes his shirt off and dives into the ocean as well. The trio comes back to the house, only to find a yoga class happening in the backyard. After the session is done, Alice, along with the other women, sits around and has a drink. Alice's friend asks her about Teddy and George, since she knows about Harry, and Alice says that they have been really helpful not only to her but to the girls as well. As time goes by, Alice and Harry grow closer. He comes to her room, they have fun, and he leaves. But with time, they start talking to each other and get to know each other, which eventually leads to Harry showing her the film as well. Some time passes and Alice's friend asks Alice to invite Harry to her dinner party. Alice is nervous at first and doesn't want it but promises her friend that she will bring him. Pulling up to her client's house, Alice is surprised to see a moving truck as she hasn't ordered any things for the room yet. Out of the house comes a stylish woman who asks Alice who she is. Alice says that she is the owner's decorator, but the woman says that the client has called her and begged for her to come back as she has found herself in a mess. Alice comes back home and complains to Teddy. She says that the client had called her but hasn't mentioned anything about not working with her anymore. She feels like a fool and admits that she should have quit before it came to that. Teddy tells her to relax and that everything will be fine. He mentions that things work out for a reason just like it worked out for them. He pulls out her laptop and shows her the web page he made for her business. From now on, more people will be able to see her business as he has made an account on all social media as well. Harry knocks on the door and delivers some great news. Justin has found someone to finance their movie and they will have a meeting the next day. Alice asks him whether he's going to be busy at night, and he says that he is free after the meeting. She invites him to her friend's dinner party and he says that he has wanted to do things outside the house with her for a while, and promises to come after the meeting. Dinner time comes and Alice goes to her friend's house. Meanwhile, Harry is at a bar with Justin but Justin orders another round of drinks, which means that Harry has to stay longer. He texts Alice and lets her know that he will be there in an hour. Unfortunately, Harry doesn't make it to the dinner as more people join him and Justin. Alice is heartbroken as she cries while taking her makeup off. There is a knock on Alice's bedroom door the next morning, and Harry walks in. He apologizes for not making it to the dinner but says that he couldn't ditch someone that could potentially finance their movie. Alice asks him how he could ditch her and he admits that he got caught up. She stops him and says that she doesn't care what happened. All she knows is that she felt bad. Harry asks her not to let one thing get in the way of their situation, so Alice asks him what they are. He doesn't know how to answer but Alice tells him that he is only a young man bound to screw up. She knows and understands because she was young like him. Tears fill her in his eyes as she tells him that she can't be with him. Harry admits to screwing up and asks whether he can make it up in the evening, but she tells him that she has a date. At the guest house, the great news is being shared. Isabel runs up to George and tells him that her play had been chosen. She asks George whether he can be on the side with her while she's performing on the stage, and he says that he would love to. Later in the night, Alice finds herself bored on the date, so she makes sure to drink a bit more to make it more interesting. While the guy's talking, Alice notices her client walk in and decides to talk to her. Going to her table, Alice lets her know that she's on a date with a man. The woman lets Alice know that she is there with her husband as she introduces him to her. Alice says that she's not been nice to her, but the woman says that Alice has had a lot to drink. Before heading back to her table, Alice tells the woman that she's quitting as she finds herself to be a dark individual. Being drunk out of her mind, Alice lies on the bench outside the restaurant. Her date pays for the dinner but leaves her behind as he notices the state she's in. Alice sits with the guy taking the reservations outside when George notices her while driving past. They sit on the bench and Alice tells him everything that happened. He asks her why she's feeling so down and she says that she is upset about Harry. George says Harry doesn't do the right thing most of the time as he doesn't know how to. Alice looks at him and says that the difference between men and women is that men just do things but women think before doing them. She lays her head on his shoulder and tells him that he is different from other guys and even compares him to a woman. Coming back to the house, Alice and George are met with Austin sitting in the driveway. Alice gets out of the car and asks him what he's doing there. He says that he wanted to surprise her as he hugs her. He looks towards the car and notices George in it. George notices that he is watching him, so he goes out and introduces himself to Austin. They get into the house and Austin reminisces on their time spent there. Alice takes out lasagna to eat out of the fridge and he gets a form as well. He asks her to understand that he had to come because there were strangers in her house, but she thinks he should have called first. He admits being afraid that she would tell him not to come as he realized that the best part of his life is her. He admits that he misses her and wants to give it another shot as he asks her to give their relationship another try. Outside the house, the boys are watching their every move. Harry wants to go in but the boys stop him as Austin is still the girl's father. They see her taking him to the guest room and realize that he's staying. Alice takes Austin to the guest room where he tries to kiss her but she moves away as it is something she doesn't want. She gets a text from Harry and he asks her to talk. Austin has set up the table for breakfast the next morning and waits for the kids and Alice, but is met with Harry putting his shirt on as he gets out of the room. They greet each other and Harry sits across from him as tension can be felt in the air. In the kitchen, Teddy asks Alice why Austin's staying at her house, and Harry chimes in as well. The girls walk in with their grandmother and Austin surprises them. They sit down for breakfast and listen to Austin's stories of his and Alice's adventures. He mentions the time Alice had been brave enough to stop a woman from stealing from her and all of them laugh. Isabel mentions the play and invites her father to it but he says that he can't stay for that long but would love to come. Alice says that George has been helping Isabel with the play and mentions to Austin that the guys are filmmakers. Austin tries to down them by saying that it takes luck but Harry stops him and says that talent plays a big role. He pisses the boys off, mostly when he asks Alice to go to dinner like they used to with the kids. Dinner time comes and Alice is getting ready when George knocks on her door. He asks her how she's feeling and she says that she feels great as Austin's saying all the things she wants to hear but on the other hand knows that he is a manipulator. Another knock can be heard on her door and when Alice opens it, she sees Teddy standing at her door. He comes in and expresses his concerns about the girls when a knock is heard on the door once more. Alice opens it and Harry asks her to give him another chance but soon notices that the boys are already there. Finally, Austin walks into the room and is surprised to see all of them there. Alice says that nothing is going on as they head out of the room. The boys sit around in the living room and wonder why Alice is giving Austin a chance when Alice and the rest walk in. Austin takes the girls to bed and Alice asks the boys how their night went. She says that the girls had fun and even found herself enjoying it, which saddens Harry. He asks her to join them in watching a movie but she says that she will be heading up to her room. She overhears Austin talking to her daughter and that melts her heart. The next morning as George is finishing his rewrite, Harry walks in and grabs the laptop to show him an article about the guy that will be financing their film. He reads a bit of the script and notices that it's not for their film, so he asks George whether he's writing something else. George tries to explain himself but Harry can't believe that he is going behind his back after getting them into Hollywood. George tells him that he hasn't stopped working on their movie and is trying to get them out of the mess Harry's made with the payment from the new job. Harry admits that he knows that George is in love with Alice and that's why he's saying all of those things. Teddy walks in and he is holding a script in his hand. Harry asks him what that is and Teddy says that he will audition for a part as a pilot. Harry thinks that the guys have turned their back on him and wishes them good luck before heading out. Austin notices Teddy upset from the window so he heads to him for a talk. All Austin wants is to find out some gossip but Teddy doesn't tell him anything. He says that it is his house, so he is entitled to know what's happening and when he and Alice get back together they will be kicked out of the house. Teddy says that's not what Alice wants but Austin says that Alice doesn't know what she wants. Rage fills Teddy as he punches Austin in the face and quickly a fight occurs. Teddy throws one more punch at Austin which makes him fall to the ground when Alice pulls into the driveway. She gets out and helps Austin who blames Teddy for starting it, so Alice tells the boys to leave as she doesn't need unnecessary drama in the house. The boys leave and Alice takes care of Austin. He caresses her cheek and leans in for a kiss. She kisses back but asks him what they're doing. Austin admits that their relationship is blurry but wants to get back together, to which Alice says that she wants a divorce. Confused, he asks her to explain and she tells him that she's ready to divorce legally. He accepts the fact that she doesn't want to be with him anymore as both of them let that sink in. The boys head to their friend's house in search of Harry and they find him there. They tell him that Teddy had beat up Austin and Harry asks whether she had seen them. They admit that she kicked them out and Austin stayed. Avoiding the situation, Harry asks them whether they're hungry but they want to talk about it. They apologize for hiding and admit being afraid of his thinking that they're doubting him or losing faith in the movie, and Harry says he feels exactly like that. They assure him that they will never leave his side and Harry smiles as the trio is back. Alice heads to her room where her girls wait for her and tells them that their father's fine. She tells them that he will be living in Los Angeles, just not with them. The girls snuggle up as they spend some time alone, away from the boys. The boys seem to have figured it out as they move into a place of their own. As time goes by, the trio works on their movie and Alice gets to work as well. Teddy lands his part and can be seen on set, while on the other hand, Isabel can be seen practicing for her play. Alice enjoys her peace and quiet but often feels alone as Harry isn't there with her. One day, there is a knock on the boys' door, so Harry opens it and gets surprised to see Alice standing in front of him. He lets her in and says that it should be him coming to her, but with Austin being there he finds it difficult. Alice tells him that she's not with Austin and he tells her that it's a good decision. Not really knowing how to say it, Harry apologizes for not treating her right. She deserves a better guy who will be there for her, but she admits that their relationship had made her more confident, and less lonely. She admits to missing them at the house, and Harry says that they've missed her more as he hugs her. The boys walk in and are surprised to see her and go to hug her. Teddy has brought flowers, so they look for a vase to put them in. Not finding a vase, Alice says that she will be buying a vase as their housewarming gift. The day of Isabel's play and the important interview for the boys comes. The theater is prepared and the actors are getting ready. The situation looks a bit hectic on the boys' side as their financier is running late. Finally, they enter the meeting, and on the other side, Isabel's family arrives at the play. Isabel looks through the curtains and sees that the boys are not there, so her anxiety grows. The financier tells the boys that he loves the script but wants to make it bigger. He wants to add more action, including a heist, but the boys don't seem to like that idea. He doesn't acknowledge what they're saying and even says that they can get another actor for Teddy's role. Justin reminds him that Teddy's attached, but he ignores that as well. Harry studies the room before he gets up and says that they don't have time as they have an 11-year-old's play to attend. He tells the financier that he has missed every lovely detail of their movie, as he will be making a mistake by changing it. He says that Teddy is one of the best actors of their generation and George understands people, which makes him a great writer. He promises the producers that they will not fail him and asks Justin whether they can borrow the car. At the school, it is almost time for Isabel's play and she doesn't see the boys, but little does she know that they're on their way. Anxious and not wanting to go out, Isabel prays that George comes, but he doesn't make it and she has to get on stage. The group gets to the school and finally enters the theater as George rushes to get backstage. Teddy and Harry sit down as Isabel gets on stage. Nervous, she doesn't know how to start her speech and struggles for a while, but luckily George gets on stage and lets her know that he's there. Seeing him makes her calm and confident, so she starts her monologue with no problem. The family celebrates the success of the play, back at the house while having dinner in the garden. Lillian says that the play had been a hit and Austin says that it was a smash. Harry mentions that she had gotten a standing ovation and people were crying, to which Teddy says that he was sobbing. "I like the kid who played Dad," says Rosie, and all of them go quiet. They start laughing as they are impressed with how the little girl had figured it out. Looking around, all Alice sees are smiling faces, and that warms her heart.